On November 13, 2023, there is a new moon in Scorpio, and Mars is in Scorpio with this new moon in a battle royale with the Lord of Chaos, Uranus. So this means that all this desire that you have for safety and security and a sense of control is building up. But now the fuse is lit and that timer is ticking down to zero. What does this mean for you? That's what we're going to talk about. Hi everyone, I'm Donna Stellhorn, your practical astrologer, and today we are talking about the new moon. It's on November 13. It's at 20 degrees of Scorpio. We're going to do a short overview, and then we're going to go sign by sign. New moons are about new beginnings, and so this is about starting something new, about going out into the fields and planting a seed in hopes that that's going to grow into some valuable harvest in the future. And this particular new moon is in Scorpio. And it is conjunct Mars in Scorpio. And Scorpio is about safety and security and a sense of control. Now, sitting opposite that new moon is Uranus in Taurus. And Uranus, which is the planet of sudden unexpected change, is kind of like a landmine out there. And it's this hair trigger that we don't know if we're going to trigger ourselves by doing something or saying something, and then we have this explosion, or if we trigger someone else and suddenly we are dealing with some chaotic, energy in our lives. So we have this absolute feeling, because it's the new moon, that we want to start something new. And yet we want to do it in a Scorpio way, which means that we want to start something new, but we want to make sure that we're safe in the process, that we're secure, that it's going to lead to more opportunities for these things, safety and security, that we can do it and keep things under control. And so Mars in Scorpio is kind of like half ninja, half doctor. But it's an energy that's on your side because Mars in Scorpio is with the new moon. And so you might be thinking, hey, I only want my appendix out. And you're faced with this force that says, we're going to get this out and that's what we're going to do. But what the Dr. Ninja is going to do is going to battle the forces of chaos, the Uranus, which is, if something goes wrong in the process, the Dr. Ninja is extremely focused on let's just cut away whatever we don't need to do. Let's get rid of the distractions and just focus on what it is that we want to accomplish. So Dr. Ninja sees what needs to be done, does it quite precisely and very focused, and that transforms your life. That's what causes the big change, is something triggered that action out there in the world. And now, because the Dr. Ninja got activated, now you are doing something brand new. Now, I know this all sounds very dramatic, and we just had 2 eclipses. And so it is quite possible that Uranus, the Lord of Chaos, has already done some chaotic things in your life. And now Dr. Ninja is just here to clean up the mess, to help you figure out what your priorities are, to do things in the right order, and to not be distracted by anything else. But like any powerful energies, it's very, very important that we do things with intention. That we, if we're seeking safety and security and a sense of control, that we keep that in mind. And we don't say to ourselves, oh, because we don't have control of external things, then we need to just give up and just, keep scrolling. This is a particular energy because Mars and Uranus are involved. That's what's making this sort of hair trigger feeling, the feeling that you have a lot of pressure that needs to be released, that you are needing to do something and you're just waiting for the word to take action. Because if Uranus was interacting with Venus, we'd get a surprise party. Or if it was interacting with Mercury, we would get a genius idea. But it's interacting with Mars, and that's a battle. Or you can think about it as there's suddenly some opposition. Something is in the way, some obstacle that you need to deal with. And now Dr. Ninja says, well, I know a way around this, or I can get through this. And the focus is going to be on the job at hand. Nothing else matters. Just getting the job done. Now, if you would like to know where Mars and Uranus are precisely in your chart, I do readings. There is a link in the description for more information. And in this video, we are doing tropical Western astrology. You should listen to your rising sign, and that's going to tell you what's going to be happening for you. If you don't know your rising sign, you can send me your birth information, and I'll send you a copy of your chart. There's a link in the description. Also, check out my video courses. I have one on reading the tarot the natural way, and my Finding the Hidden Money in Your Chart. Yes, I know, I keep promising this. It is so close to being done. It's any day now. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed to my newsletter, there's a link to that in the description as well. Okay, let's go sign by sign. Okay, Aries, this new moon, along with Dr. Ninja, is sitting in your house of investments, credit, and debt. And that potential explosion can happen in your house of money. Now, on a positive note, that can mean that there is new money coming in, and so that you get this sudden burst of money. It doesn't necessarily even need to be large amount of money to cause that change. And then you are scrambling to say, all right, I'm going to pay off this debt, or I'm going to invest here. It is also, though, possible that this explosion is happening and it's an interruption in your income, or it's a change of your income. And this could give you that resolute feeling of, all right, now I have to work on my business, or I have to work on my investments, or I'm going to find a passive source of income so I can create more money without working harder. And so that's where this energy is focused. And so keep an eye on your finances, because you may have to move money around quickly. Again, Dr. Ninja is here to help you so that you can say, oh, this account is short, let me shift some money here or there. But most of this is to watch what is flowing in and flowing out, because there could be some changes in that area, and then you can make the adjustments. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mars is making a conjunction to the Sun, and so there is some real opportunities, especially for an intimate relationship. If you're looking for someone where you have a lot of physical compatibility, you could find someone. Plus, we have Venus in your house of relationships, so this is like double love here happening. And that doesn't mean multiple people per se, but it does mean that you might find someone that you relate to on many levels. So this is a really good time to be out there pursuing new love. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is making a semi-square to Mars, which means you do have an opportunity to work out something that has been irritating one or both of you. But the better use for this energy is to join forces and work on a project together, so that if one of you has tried to do this and you've found irritation or friction or frustration, the other one can help. And so you can kind of tag team and find a solution. Now, when it comes to your money, you are pulling money from Venus, which is in your house of relationships, partnerships, and collaborations. And so that means that maybe you're sitting down with your partner and discussing finances, but it's also a possibility of finding someone to collaborate with in business, or to find a mentor or an influencer to help you out. So this is one of those aspects where the more people you reach out to, the more people you connect with, the more possibilities you have. So look at networking, especially where you can do in-person networking, one-on-one, where you're meeting people, or, direct message people, so that you can at least put those seeds out there and let those seeds germinate for a little while to see what grows. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, you have very strong money houses this time. So it is quite possible you're going to be making more money than usual, despite the fact that there's no aspect going on between Venus and Pluto. So which probably means that you are going to get notification of the profits, but you may not receive the actual money during this 2-week period. But because money energy is so strong for you, and it's going to remain so for a little while, you really want to focus your energies on finding where that harvest is so that you can collect the things that you've been working on. And by things, I mean cash that you've been working on for so long. So that this is also a good time to expand your business in some way, to launch something, to, change your prices, or to launch more products or services. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a business, Venus is making a sesquiquadrate to Uranus. And so that means that it's kind of a mixed bag. And what I'm thinking is that you could start the conversation about getting a raise or increasing your commission schedule or something like that. But it's going to be easier for right now for you to get perks. That could mean discounted stock or discounts maybe on insurance or more time off. So look for some sort of difference in how you're negotiating for getting more benefits from your job right now. Okay, Taurus, this new moon and Dr. Ninja are sitting in your house of relationships, partnerships, and collaborations, while that ticking time bomb is something that you own. And that means that you may be feeling enormous pressure to make a change in your life. And this is pressure that's coming internally, which, it's funny because I think that you have heard a chorus of people around you telling you you should change. And now that you're ready to make a change, everyone's going to say, whoa, don't change that much, or don't change in that direction, or that's not what I meant by change. So you may find that as you start to change, that other people are going to freak out a little bit and try to stop you. And so you may want to really look at discussing this with the people and finding the common ground to say, like we had talked about change and, you had suggested change, etc. It's also quite possible too that they're feeling unsafe because of the changes that you're making. So they're sending out Dr. Ninja to try to stop you. And so that is to let them feel safe and comfortable somehow so that you can then go ahead and make the changes that you want to make. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, you have a really good chart for finding someone and establishing a good relationship. Venus is making a sextile to Mercury, and you have a full house of relationships. So that's fantastic. It also may be that you're changing things up a little bit, maybe, seeing somebody brand new that's not really your type. This is new love, so of course they would be brand new, but maybe there's something different about them that you haven't tried before, or you're trying it in a new way, or you're starting out going out in a different, to a different location or something. Something's changed, and that is beneficial now. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is not making an aspect with Pluto, but you have such strong houses in this area that I would expect you were able to come together with your partner and work things out, or to strengthen the relationship in some way. It's very it shows that you're a united front right now. So even if you don't agree on all things, which, like, who does, you have an opportunity to face the world united in your opinions. So that can help build a bridge for other areas of your life where maybe you don't agree. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Mercury, which is sitting in a money house. So that's really good news. This is your area of investments, credit, debt, passive income sources. And so there is a lot of thought that you're giving to this right now, where you're considering different ideas. It's time to put your toe in the water. And that is, if you're just starting out in investing, maybe do some paper trades. And that is, you actually say, I'm going to take my Monopoly money and I'm going to make a trade, and then I'm actually going to track what it does. Or you go and you buy one share of something. So, and then that's a small investment, but that then gets you interested in working with it. Or if it's a business, sometimes with businesses, it seems so complicated, but if you just slow down and take it step by step, then it's actually quite easy. And so that's the energy that you're doing now. Very positive for money, especially when you are going to say, I'm going to start on something that's going to bring me, income, business income, or passive income in the future. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Mercury's making an inconjunct with Jupiter, which is not the easiest of aspects, but it is an aspect. So that does mean you're likely to make more money over the next 2 weeks than usual. But that money, that extra money is predicated on this idea that you're going to go do something that is difficult. It's somewhere where you have to make an adjustment. And so because you're in a mode of change right now, look at what you can change, like, how you look at things, the questions you ask yourself. And if you make those changes, then it's going to be easier to make more money during this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, Mercury is not making an aspect with Neptune. Now, that said, your Mercury's in a money house, Neptune's in a money house. So there are some possibilities, and you have a very strong house of relationships, and, a relationship with your supervisor would count. So this is a time where I would say plant a seed. And what you may hear is, let's talk about it after the new year, or, let's talk about it at your next review. But you plant the seed, and that could grow into something, and grow into something sooner than you're thinking. Okay, Gemini, you are doing this new moon in your house of work, daily routines, and health and well-being, and Dr. Ninja is sitting there with that new moon, and that is sitting opposite the ticking time bomb, which is actually in your house of unknown things. So you have the I don't know when this is going to blow up, and I don't know what is going to blow up sort of energy. Now, this is the house that's owned by the universe, and so the universe is the one who is doing these changes to guide you in a new direction. And where you can use Dr. Ninja is to look at your schedule and chop, get rid of anything that's, not necessary, that you're spending too much time on that is not leading you to your goals. So this is also where you might use Dr. Ninja to remove any sort of negative habits that you have that are actually pulling you down or causing you to be depressed or draining your energy. So what I think could happen is that the universe could guide you by either blocking something or opening up a door quite suddenly that causes you to say, oh, this is the direction I want to go. And then Dr. Ninja can say, all right, I'm going to change your schedule right now, chop. And so that you have more time and energy to go do this thing. So I think there's a very positive way that you can do this. It is not so great if you're ignoring the signs of the universe, because then the little changes or explosions could get louder and louder and louder. And so if you were thinking, okay, what could change in my life and what do I want to change in my life, then you kind of get ahead of the surprises. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, you have a great chart for this 2-week period. Venus is making a sextile to Mercury, and Venus is in a relationship house, and Mercury is in a relationship house. So things are really lined up for something good happening in this area. Now, but your focus is on daily routines, and so you're going to have to give yourself space to go meet someone, space to take the time to say, all right, I'm going to go, check out what's going on my dating app, or make the time to go to a social event. So that's the only thing that I would say is the opportunities there, you have to make the time for it. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury is making an inconjunct to Jupiter. And that means that one or both of you need to make an adjustment, that there is something where there's a point of contention, and it's very, very difficult to see the other person's point of view at this time. It is like you're talking two different languages. Now, it is an aspect, so you have an opportunity to work this out, but it is going to take putting down your ideas or your whatever you're trying to convince them of, and set that down so that you can see if you can reach out and try and take on what they're suggesting and really say, all right, if I was doing this, how would my life work? How would our life work? It's going to be tough because with an inconjunct, it's very difficult to see, as I said, the other person's point of view. So you'll need to make a little bit of effort in this area. But if you do this, you could work out something that has bothered the two of you since day one. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from the moon, which is sitting there with Dr. Ninja, right? So that is looking at your schedule, looking at how you do your job. Maybe there's something in your job where you could automate it and save yourself hours. Or perhaps it's time to talk to your supervisor and say, I think there's a better way of doing this that can save us time. Or is looking at where you're procrastinating on things that you want to do and say to yourself, all right, I know I've been procrastinating. And, I've talked about this before. We procrastinate for one of two reasons. Either the thing is too hard or it's too boring. And so this is a time where if it's too hard, to break it down into smaller and smaller increments. And so you say, okay, I have it down to a task I can do in 2 minutes. And that will then step by step move you forward. If it's too boring, figure out how you can make a game out of it. Figure out how you could make it more interesting. That would be the challenge. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, the moon's not making an aspect with Saturn. So you're making about the same as usual. A lot of this is in your area of systems and routines. And so that means coming up with better systems, which takes you longer, which may mean that you're even making less, but could save you in the long run or, multiply your income in the future. So that's where we see the big leap forward that happens, is because you're spending a couple of weeks really looking at the procedures that you're doing and streamlining those. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so like a paycheck, it's an entirely different story. Moon is making a conjunction to Mars. That means you could get a raise. It could lead you to transform completely your work environment. So that could mean a promotion, that could mean working in a different office or with a different team or working on new projects. So this is a good time to be asking for a raise or how you could move up in the company, or if you want to seek another job. Okay, Cancer, you're doing this new moon in your house of children, creativity, personal expression. It's also about risk-taking. And then that ticking time bomb is sitting in your house of the future. And so what this is that you may be feeling very protective of, your lifestyle, your how you interact with your kids, your creative projects. But that ticking time bomb is, how society is changing and what their tastes are changing, or what you need to do in the future. Like, oh, I only have 2 years to get my kid into college, or my kid needs to move out, or or my kid needs to enter into school. So or maybe it's a creative project. How do I do this thing that I love so much and that I've worked so hard on? How do I put it out into the world in a safe fashion? So there is a lot of questions that you're asking yourself now. I think that where Dr. Ninja can really help is by looking at how to protect, how to say, all right, I'm going to protect my relationship with my kids while still embracing the future that, that they're going to move across country to go to college, or that, they're going into school and I won't see them every day. So looking at the creative project and saying, all right, well, maybe you put the creative project out in the world, but you turn off the comments, things like that, to say, this is where I need the protection, and so I'm going to implement that. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, even though the moon's not making an aspect with Pluto, the house is full. It's the new moon is right there. So this says there's a huge opportunity for you to meet somebody new for a love relationship. And yet, it's the nature of Cancer itself is that you are more comfortable with people you know. So finding a way to get to know strangers, to bring them into kind of the family, is the best way for you to meet someone for a new love relationship. So you look for friendships, you look for groups or organizations you can belong to where you can start to feel like a family, and then you can meet love that way. So, but if you've had trouble finding a love relationship, this could be it, that you just kind of step back from situations where you're meeting strangers. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the moon's not making an aspect with Saturn. And so there is a real focus this time, less on relationships relationships and more on yourself, and especially on creativity or on your kids, or on general things of personal expression. So your relationship, it's just going along as usual. Maybe you'll do a creative project together, but it's more of, you're doing your little bits in the family, they're doing their little bits in the family, and you're just moving along together. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from the sun, which is in that house of risk-taking and creativity. It's sitting there with Dr. Ninja, who's, trying to keep you safe and protected. And so this is very much about taking calculated risks. I've talked in the past about that book, How to Decide. And I can't remember the author's name at the moment, but I will put a link in the description. And it is very much about how to take something that feels like it's a complete unknown and figure out that you actually know much more about the situation and the upside and the downside than you think you do. And that will help you make a decision, especially about investing or starting a business or changing jobs or any other money-related things. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, the sun's making an opposition to Uranus. That is a strong aspect for negotiating for something, for finding some common ground, for meeting in the middle somehow. And so even though, that making those compromises can sound like it's a lot of work, there could be some real money that you make because you're willing to meet them halfway. Maybe not on the amount of money, but maybe the time that it takes them to pay. Or maybe it is looking at your process, for how the customer buys and making it a little bit simpler where there's a little less friction. Or looking at your investments and creating a system for yourself so you don't feel so much friction in having to invest. So you have some really good energy for making more money through business or through your investments over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, and that would be like a paycheck, Venus is making a semi-square to the sun. That indicates that there is a little bit of friction, like something is holding this back. Now, that might be the time of year that they're going to say, oh, we have to wait until after the first of the year, or they may say, that there's something external, like there's a hiring freeze or a raise freeze or something like that is holding things back. So, but with that, it's still an aspect. So you have an opportunity, and if you're willing to lean in, you could make something happen. So consider, if this is something you've been really wanting and really working toward, at least you have an aspect and you can push. But if you want this to be a little easier, you may want to wait. This will line up better in the future. Okay, Leo, you're doing this new moon along with Dr. Ninja in your house of home and family, and the ticking time bomb is up in your area of career. And so that means that some things that are happening in your job could affect your home life. And so that might mean that there are, little signals in your job that maybe your company will be bought, or maybe that they're going to split, or they're going to move offices a long distance. It's also possible that you see in general that the industry itself is changing, that technology is causing changes. And of course, Dr. Ninja wants to keep the family safe, and that the home side is secure. And so the focus there is to look and see what you can eliminate, what you can take away in what you're trying to keep safe. And that might mean that you say, well, I've got to get to a zero mortgage, but maybe that's putting too much stress on you. So then you say, okay, well, I'm going to get down to a low mortgage. Or you say, okay, I need to buy a house this year, but maybe it's to say, I'm going to give myself a little bit of a break and give myself a little bit more time. So, but the most important thing here for keeping everything, stable and happy and secure is to look at your career and say, what could change? Well, what is the black swan? What is the thing that's going to be the surprise? And it could be quite a minor surprise. It could be something like your boss is going on vacation and they say you should run the office. So it could be something small, but it's necessary right now that you are aware of it so that big or small, you can handle it. because you have Dr. Ninja there ready with the katana to say, okay, I'm going to deal with whatever's coming. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the sun's not making an aspect with Jupiter. You do have Mercury in that house, and so there may be somebody who reaches out to you, but your focus seems very much on home and family and career, as we were talking about. So it doesn't look like you are noticing even when somebody's pursuing you. So, and that's quite all right. Just, continue maybe to text back and forth or do a video chat, but you might want to wait a little bit longer before you actually meet the person and this energy lines up better. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the sun's making an opposition to Uranus. You have a really good opportunity to come together in some sort of compromise where you're helping each other out. And that can be that, like you have strong maybe communication skills and they have good paperwork skills, and so you come together, you write the letter, they file it, or something like that. So this says, find each other's strengths and then, double down on that so that you can really be a power couple. That's what this aspect could give you, is an opportunity to come together to do something that's very powerful. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Mercury, which is in your house of creativity, risk-taking, and self-expression. And it wants to take a risk, but it may try to do something that's bigger than like taking a gigantic bite out of something and then having to try to chew that. So this is to look and have the big concepts by all means, but then take the time to break it down into the manageable pieces and then say to yourself, okay, which pieces can I do quickly? Which ones do I need to delegate? Which ones can I eliminate? So this says that you can have some extraordinary ideas right now for business or passive income sources, but they need to be thought out and broken down. Now, when it comes to money derived from business or from investments, there's no aspect going on between Mercury and Neptune, and Saturn is right there. And so I'm thinking that this means that you may have to actually spend a little extra money to shore up equipment or to do some sort of annual contract, or maybe fees are being taken out of investments right now. So this is though part of the bigger picture, and so you may show a little less cash flow this month or some outgo because it's supporting the business or because it's supporting your your investments. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck. Mercury's making an inconjunct Jupiter in your house of career. And so what that means is the good work you've been doing, but the supervisor or the company itself is not realizing that you are doing this extraordinary work. And so you have to go in and say, this is what I've done. This is where my name should have been on it. This is the ideas I had that have been implemented. You're going to need to pitch yourself to make this happen. So if you don't want to do that, if you're like, no, I want them to come to me, then wait a little bit longer till this energy lines up better, which it will in the future. Okay, Virgo, you are doing this new moon along with Dr. Ninja in your house of communication, thinking processes, also neighbors, siblings, transportation, paperwork. And then that ticking time bomb that we've been talking about, that's sitting in your house of travel, adventure. It's also lawsuits and philosophy and higher education. So the surprise that can happen, from a positive standpoint, could be that you're busy doing all your stuff and like working on end of the year stuff, and then someone knocks on your door and says, hey, do you want to go to Spain with me today? And so you have to drop everything and say, okay, what needs to be done? What can I let go of, etc. So, or this could be that you are working on some sort of legal matter, and so you're getting all the paperwork done, and then suddenly there's a continuance, or a new information changes the situation, and you've got to go with the flow on that. Same with education. Maybe a deadline gets moved up, or you didn't realize that a deadline was approaching. But the biggest thing that can happen here is a change of philosophy, a change of ideas, that you see a video somewhere and it it gives you a new idea that then is reordering your thinking. And that's where Dr. Ninja can come in so handy to say, chop, 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 let's let go of this negative thinking. Let's let go of limiting beliefs and really focus on what is helpful, what keeps us safe, secure, and, just happy in general, because we're transforming something at the core level. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Saturn is making a square to Mercury, and Saturn's sitting right in your house of relationships. This is a really good time to meet someone for a love relationship, especially, someone in the neighborhood or someone that you're introduced to through a friend or family member. So the energy is strong. Like, you could find someone and you could really kind of look at that person and say, wow, this could be a long-term relationship. This could be somebody that I, spend the rest of my life with. And you might feel that quite instantaneously, or they might say to you, oh, you're the one. And then you can then slow it down and say, okay, let's make sure, let's get to know each other. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury's not making an aspect with Neptune, which means, and we have Pluto sitting right there. And so it's probable that there is some sort of point of contention that the two of you need to work out, but you can't work it out right now. There's no aspect going on, so there's no common ground. There's no way to talk about it. So it's probably best to just let things go for another 2 weeks and see what emerges. Like, maybe you figure out a different way to talk to the person about it, or maybe you see a different side of what's going on. And it's also possible that someone close to you, like a sibling or a cousin, says something and then you say, oh, that's what's going on. You connect the dots. So, but right now it's difficult to have, to work out something with your partner because there's not the common ground right now. There's not a connection right now to work out this particular problem. That doesn't mean that it's terrible between the two of you. It's just the problem that you're thinking of when I say, hey, there's a problem, that problem you probably can't work out over this next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Venus, which is in your house of money, which is generally a good thing and can bring you some different sources of money and some opportunities, but it can be quite a spender. And so you may find that you are, like buying new tools for your business or investing in apps or, changing up your website or doing something that is costing you money. So more money may be coming in, but more money is going out. And so, and that's how life flows. So this aspect's going to be going on for a little while. So you want to keep an eye on it that the spending doesn't go too much. So, but in general, this can bring some new sources of income. So keep your eyes open for that. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Venus is making a semi-square to Mars, which means that there's some sort of friction between you and making more money. And that can mean that you're procrastinating, and you possibly are procrastinating just because it's too difficult right now. You look at all the steps that you have to take and you just say, I don't have time, or I just don't want to do it. And the trick then is to do the tiniest little step possible to just get the momentum going, because it is an aspect. And once you identify it and say, I really don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway, then things can start to move forward and open up. So, but recognize that initially there's going to feel like there's some sort of obstacle that you have to get past, and it's not a huge obstacle, it's just a little bit of friction. And when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, it's a similar energy, and that is the moon's making a semi-square to Venus. So that again means that it's hard to nail down your boss for the meeting. Your boss says, yes, we could kind of give you a raise, but then it's all convoluted, the timing or how you're supposed to do it, or there's some sort of friction. So look for where the friction is and see if you can, spread some grease on it to make it less irritating somehow. So to anticipate what the problem is. And even at the very beginning of the meeting with the supervisor, you might say, I know you're not going to want to hear this. Oftentimes when we start off identifying what it is the other person's going to react with, it calms them down because they feel like they've been heard. There's some good information about this in a book called Never Split the Difference. I'll put the link in the description. All right, Libra, this new moon and Dr. Ninja are sitting in your house of money, and this is sitting opposite that ticking time bomb of Uranus in your house of resources from others. This is also investments, credit, debt, and power and control. And it's the things that are out of your control, like someone raising your interest rates, which causes you then to scramble or change, how you're spending your money or where you're allocating money. Or this is changes in the marketplace, cause you to do something different with your business or look for different investments. So this is where Dr. Ninja can come in quite handy because it is focused on security and survival anyway. And then putting it in this house means that you do have the ability to see what you need to do, what you need to cut out, what you need to go for to give yourself more of a sense of security and some financial prosperity. Also, if you need to hide money from yourself, like if you're too quick to spend money and so you want to put it out of reach, Dr. Ninja is very good at finding places to hide things. So this would be an opportunity for you to maybe open up a separate account or a brokerage account or something that's just a little bit out of reach so that it can help you curb spending. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Venus is making a sesquiquadrate to Uranus. That means that, yes, you could meet someone. It's going to turn out a little bit different than you were thinking. So that means that maybe you thought you wouldn't be attracted to them and you're extremely attracted to them, or they're very, very attracted to you, or there may be some sort of obstacle. Maybe you meet someone, but you're not quite out of your relationship yet, or maybe they're not. So there could be some sort of complication here, and you could wait a little while to meet someone, and this aspect will line up better in the future. But there is an aspect here, so it is quite possible that you could meet someone during this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is making a semi-square to Mars. That is that there is some sort of point of contention maybe between the two of you that you need to work out, but you're resistant or they're resistant to discussing this. And, in some ways, maybe take that sign of resistance as just a sign that you need to wait and, till this energy lines up better in the future, which it will. But if this is something that is coming to a head, recognize there's going to be some hesitation, some friction about working on it. There's a small obstacle. It's not a huge obstacle, but there's like a little hurdle that has to that you have to get past so that you can work on this, so you can find the common ground. So that does mean you could work out something in this relationship to make it better, but it's going to be a little bit painful in the process. Now, when it comes to your money, as we were talking about right at the beginning, you have an extraordinary energy right now for money. The fact is that this new moon is in your house of money, which says a new source of money is possible. New thoughts about money is possible. Dr. Ninja is there. That means that you can see what you want and go after it with complete confidence. You're also pulling money from the Pluto in your 4th house, so you could be drawing money from family knowledge, ancestral knowledge, or getting help from ancestors. So the energy here is very, very strong right now. So even if you just take the time to ask yourself questions like, how can I make more money? What could I do differently to make more money? Or what are all of the money sources that I could think of? And then once you have that entire list done, then think of a few more and then think of a few more. So keep pushing it by asking yourself those questions. And you could find that new money sources open up for you during this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to money from investments or from your business, even though Venus is not making an aspect with Pluto, it's making a semi-square to Mars, which means that there is more money for you in these areas, but there is a little bit of friction. That means that You may procrastinate. Because, it's when we look at a task and we say, oh, look what I have to do to get this done, or why doesn't the company make it easier? If you just break it down into the smallest steps, or you slow down and go through the instructions, or take the time to do the terrible bot chat so you can get to a person to answer the question. Like if you just focus the energy, you could solve the problem and open up this source of revenue for you. So consider that, yes, it's going to look hard right at the beginning. It's going to say, like no entrance, no parking, don't go here. But just push at it a little bit and it will give way and you'll see an open door. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, even though the sun's not making an aspect to Pluto, it is making a conjunction with Mars. So therefore, this is an extraordinary time for you to be asking for a raise. This is a time to sit down with your supervisor and say, what do I need to do to make more money? How can I excel in my career? Or if you're looking for a new job, this is a great time to negotiate for a higher salary because you could get it. Okay, Scorpio, this is your new moon and Dr. Ninja is in your court. And that means that you own this energy and you can direct it wherever you want for safety, security, creating more power and control in your life. But that ticking time bomb is in the hands of other people. And that means that the other person, lobs it at you and says, oh, I can't do the appointment at this time, or I can't work with you now, or I don't want to go out with you, or, some sort of surprise, like, just out of the blue, them saying, I want to move to Guam. And you're saying, oh, no, but not right now, please. So the energy here is to remember that you are the source of your power. You're the source of security and comfort and ease in your life. And that's where you could look at Dr. Ninja to say, all right, I want you to cut out the thoughts that I have that are negative, my lack of confidence, my lack of sense of ability to go get this. Let's cut that away. So, and it's just a matter of saying, I'm not going to entertain these thoughts anymore because these are not helping me move forward. I'm not going to do the things that are stopping me anymore. And so when somebody does surprise you with some, out of the blue request, you can weigh that and say, is this really what I want? And if it's not, then you just, chomp, and say, I'm not going to do that. So that's how you can handle this, is by remembering your own confidence, your own abilities. And then you can direct your Dr. Ninja to go and get whatever it is that you want. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Venus is making a sextile to Pluto, plus your relationship houses are chock full of wonderful planets. So this is a great time to meet somebody new. And the surprise part of that might be that they are a different type than you were expecting. You didn't think you would go with a rocker, but you like them, or they're into monster trucks and you're not, or, like something might be very different about that person, but there is a spark. There's an opportunity here. And so this is a time, if you're looking for love, to go meet somebody new or go to social events or places where you can meet new people. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is not making an aspect with Pluto. However, it is making a semi-square to Mars. And plus your relationship houses are quite full. And so that does indicate you can work something out with your partner. The trick in this is they may not admit that there's a problem because the Venus is hidden. And so it's possible that they say, no, I don't have a problem. And they have a problem. And so the resistance that you feel may not be you so much wanting, like you're ready to work on it, but they don't seem like they're ready to admit it, or they can't see it clearly. And so that's the friction that I see in solving this problem. So it may be just a matter of trying different words or trying a different approach. Remember, you own that Dr. Ninja, so that you can come in different ways, sneak in a window, come down the chimney, that sort of thing. So look for different ways of approaching the problem, and you'll still meet a little bit of friction, but you could solve it. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Jupiter, and it's Jupiter sitting in your house of relationships. Jupiter is a planet we haven't talked about much for this 2-week period because it's not very active. But you do have very strong relationship houses, and it's in a relationship house. So that means go meet a lot of people. Go meet some new people, go find new people to follow, start commenting on what they're doing, connect with someone who is a coach or a mentor, or if you're looking for clients, go do some networking, but live networking where you're going to an event and talking about what you do. So you have money opportunities when you are interacting with others. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Mercury's making an inconjunct to Jupiter, which means that there's something that you need to do differently, and it's a little bit hard to see. You might not be able to say, it's like sometimes it's obvious, I need to send out my invoices or something like that. But this might be something you need to tweak or adjust in some way, and then the money starts flowing in. So you might just start by asking yourself questions like what would happen if I did the opposite of what I'm doing? Or what would I do if I needed to do all of this in 2 hours? Use some of those Tim Ferriss questions. He has some amazing questions. His 21 question PDF is really amazing. So I'll put a link to that in the description. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that's like a paycheck, even though Mercury's not making an aspect with Jupiter, they have very strong relationship planets. And so this is a time to establish a stronger relationship with your boss and to talk to them about your career trajectory, because you could plant a great seed for getting that raise outside of this 2-week period. So the energy is quite good. It's hard for you to get it immediately, although I will say, because Mercury is in a money house, there is a good chance that you could get at least the promise of it just outside this 2-week period, but it's close. And so it is worth working at. Okay, Sagittarius, you're doing this new moon and Dr. Ninja in your house of spirituality. This is the house that's controlled by the universe. This is where you receive psychic messages. And that ticking time bomb is in your house of daily routines, work, health, in all the practical sides of things. So this is kind of like, like you're sitting down to do your meditation, you're playing your singing bowl, and suddenly your boss texts and says, please come in right away. It's like something in your daily life seems to be upsetting the flow of your life, and that can feel quite jarring. And so where Dr. Ninja comes in is to either carry that spirituality into the business, where you carry this peacefulness into whatever it is you have to do, whether it's to, quickly go to the job or to answer a phone call or to deal with some sort of health thing. Or you can use Dr. Ninja to say, okay, I can't come in today. I'm going to cut this off. I'm going to chop this away and say, this working on my spiritual life is more important right now than doing these other things. So, and this is like a true sort of meditation sort of aspect, where like when you're meditating and then your nose starts to itch, you're doing something spiritual, and then a physical thing pops into your mind. And so that's where you might say, you know what, my nose itches, but it's okay. I'm going to scratch that in 20 minutes because right now I'm meditating. So that's the kind of energy that you're doing this time. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mars is not making an aspect with Jupiter, and you've got a lot of planets, basically in houses that we consider are hidden. And so it's like you're not as visible right now. So that would mean that this is a time for you to work on the inner you and let relationship stuff happen outside this 2-week period. So even if somebody is knocking on your door, which is possible because Mercury is in your own sign, so it's possible that somebody is trying to communicate with you, you might want to just put things off for a couple of weeks. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury is making an inconjunct to Jupiter, which means the two of you may have something that you can work out, but it's very difficult to see the other person's point of view right now. It's like what they're suggesting seems so out of left field that you're having trouble finding that common ground. And it is necessary for you to make an adjustment before you can see what it's even that they're talking about. So that's where the challenge comes in with this energy. And so you might do something through meditation, like give me a message about what's going on. You might get some insights that way. But it will be necessary for you to put yourself in not their shoes even at this point, but somebody else's shoes, so you can have a different vantage point to see really what's going on. And this is the same if it's your point of contention. If you're upset about something, they can't see it. They can't figure it out. And so you would have to adjust how you're explaining it for them to see it. And by the way, this only lasts for 2 weeks. So this energy will line up better in the future. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Saturn right at the base of your chart, which is now moving forward. So now a lot of the things that you were working on over the last few weeks, they are starting to almost like germinate. Let's say that. You might not even be able to see the results yet. Like the little seedling hasn't popped up from the ground, but it's moving in the right direction. So you get the smallest amount of traction possible, but it is showing some movement. And this can feel like you're trying to navigate through fog or like through mud. And, so recognize that it's slow going at first until you build up some momentum. So if you are getting some results, then nurture that little plant and see if it will grow. Now, when it comes to money derived from business or career, the moon's not making an aspect with Saturn. So that means you're making about the same as usual. I think that, again, the bigger things that you're working on or the new things that you're working on, they're just still too new. And so this may be something that you've launched, and so you're just starting to get some feedback on it, or maybe you are just working on it for a launch that's going to happen in a couple of weeks. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, the challenge that you're going to have is that either you can't find your boss, like your boss is on vacation, so you can't talk to them about a raise, or they're going to say, I don't know how to do this for you. Like maybe the company is blocking it, or maybe there's something about your work situation that, you've topped out, you've hit a glass ceiling or a real ceiling. So there's something that is there that is stopping this, and it's very challenging to get things to move forward without you making some sort of adjustments. And of course, the obvious adjustment is to go out and look for something else, because when you have an offer from someone else, then you can negotiate your current place. But I would say, because you have a strong house of spirituality, start by planting some seeds on the spiritual side. That would mean, sorry about that. That would mean that you meditate or visualize or do affirmations towards getting the raise before you even broach it with your supervisor. Okay, Capricorn, you're doing this new moon and Dr. Ninja in your house of the future, of future thinking, technology, also the community itself, and that ticking time bomb is sitting opposite in your house of creativity and personal expression, as well as children, risk-taking, also romance. And so that's, like you might be thinking, okay, I'm moving towards my future, I'm interacting more with the community, I'm working on my technology, and then someone lobs that little ticking time bomb at you, like one of the kids say, oh, I really need help on this, or, I'm so sad, I need, like my friends aren't talking to me, please, stay with me, help me out. And suddenly all of your time and all of your energy is going into that area. Or you feel absolutely compelled to do a creative project. You feel so inspired, and that's causing you to adjust all of your thoughts about the future and the community that you're working with. Or romance comes into your life and you say, oh my gosh, I can't think about anything else about my future. All I'm thinking about is our future. It's also possible that you pop up pregnant, or that you suddenly get a puppy, and so that is taking up all of your time and energy. So That's where that little ticking time bomb can come in. And Dr. Ninja is very much about, okay, what can I chop away? And so that I can focus on the things that bring me a sense of safety and security and can transform my life for sure, but still it doesn't put my life out of control. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Venus is making an inconjunct to Saturn. And that means that there is definitely an opportunity, but it's different. It's something, it's like a person you never would have thought of. This is a person who is extremely different than you are. They're from a different part of the world. Maybe they speak a different language. Maybe they have a different religion. There is something very different where the two of you need to adjust. This is not necessarily a bad thing. This just may be something that you didn't expect. And so if you're being pursued for a love relationship and you're thinking, no, that's what this energy that you're doing over this next 2 weeks is about. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the moon is not making an aspect with Saturn. So that means that there's not a lot you can work on right now on the relationship, that everything's just rolling along as usual, that even if you try to come together to work out something, it's just like you get too busy, things get in the way. So just wait until outside this 2-week period. This energy will line up better in the future. Now, when it comes to your money, you are pulling money from both that Saturn, which is in your house of communication and thinking process, as well as the Uranus, which is the ticking time bomb in this chart. That means that there can be some inspiration that you have that just changes everything, that you say, oh, I know how to do this. I know the steps to take to make more money, or I have this brilliant idea about how I can put out a product, or this creative thing could make the difference. So this is a time where you could get inspired. Now, the way inspiration works is you have to give it some space, and that would mean some quiet time. Sometimes our lives are so filled with things talking to us in our ears that there's no space for that to happen. Now, the universe does two things with this. It's, first, the signs from the universe, the little explosions from the universe are very minor, and they're just like little pops, like, hello, hello. But if the universe really loves you, then the pops get louder and louder and louder. And so that's why suddenly your life is thrown into chaos, because the universe, which cares about you so much, was saying, I'm trying to get your attention. So don't wait for that. Instead, just take off and the voice in your ear and have a little bit of silence and ask the question, all right, what is it, universe, that you want me to know? Now, when it comes to money from business or money from investments, the sun's making an opposition to Uranus. That means that there are real opportunities here. Some sort of compromise may be needed. You might have to meet someone halfway, maybe adjust when they're paying you, or, throw in some extras or things like that. But there are some real money opportunities to make more money from these sources over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, and that's like a paycheck, I have to check. Saturn's making a semi-sextile to Pluto. Plus, of course, the new moon is in this house. And that means that you have one of the best opportunities you've had for a long time in getting more money in your job. So this is a time to talk about it. And yes, they're going to surprise you with something. They're going to say, oh, we're changing offices, or the company may be bought, or something like that. That's okay, because you have Dr. Ninja on your side to kind of roll with it and say, okay, well, then this is another reason why I should get a raise. So you can work with this energy, whatever they lob at you. You can find a way to, deflect it, or to have it be to your benefit. Okay, Aquarius, you are doing this new moon at the top of your chart in your house of career, reputation, social standing, and Dr. Ninja is there with you, trying to help you out. And where that ticking time bomb is in your house of home and family. And that means that, something can be going really nicely in your career. You're really settled, your reputation is growing, your business is growing. And then someone in the family says, I got a new job, let's all move across country. Or the pipe bursts in the house and you have to, focus all of your attention on that. Or you say, wow, now that my career is stable, I think I'll move, and so then you're packing and focusing on that. So that's where this excitements can come into. But with this, the Dr. Ninja here can take whatever's going on in your career and help you streamline it, it take less time, help eliminate procrastination so that you get the work done, so that you can work on the things at home. But it also helps as things from home are lobbed at you, you can decide which is important and which isn't. So this is where you can use that very useful energy. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, even though Mercury's not making an aspect to Uranus, you're very noticeable right now. So it's more likely that somebody's going to be pursuing you. And so if you have your profile up, if you go to social events, people will cross the room to meet you. So, go to some social event, stand in the middle of the room or plant yourself somewhere where you can be seen and let people come to you. And you could meet someone for a love relationship. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the sun's making an opposition to Uranus. This means that you have an opportunity to come together as a united front and to work something out. And so you could be coming together as allies to work out something that's external to your relationship, working out a family matter or financial matter or something like that. Or you can work out something between the two of you. Sorry about that. So that you can compromise, you can find common ground. You just need to meet in the middle. And that's what is possible during this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from the Neptune, which is in your house of money. Also, that Jupiter, which we haven't talked about too much in this chart, is not very active in this chart. But the big news for you financially is that Saturn in your house of money is now moving forward. Now, Saturn is a slow growth wealth planet, and that means that it's over time, things accumulate. It's like brick on top of brick to build a building. And so now that it's moving forward, you're going to start to see some progress on the things you had started already. Like the little ideas are starting to germinate. And even if you can't see them, sprouting up on the land yet, they're going to be there soon. And so watch for the signs that something is growing, and then, water it and nurture it and, put your energy into making it happen. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, you're making about the same as usual over this next 2 weeks. Mercury's not making an aspect with Neptune. They will make an aspect pretty soon, but right now there's no aspect. And so even promises of money, they'll come outside the 2-week period. So if someone says they're sending a check, it's probably going to take a little bit longer than they're saying. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that's like a paycheck, it is a different story because Jupiter is making a semi-square to Neptune, and Mercury, which rules a money house, is in that house. Plus, you have a strong career house. So all of that adds up to a big opportunity. Now, there is a little bit of friction between you and getting that raise. That means that your boss doesn't really have time to meet, or, you may have to say to your boss, it's going to take 5 minutes, like 5 minutes. Or you have everything prepared, like you have to take all the trouble of getting all your bullet points memorized before you sit down or something like that. But your visibility is very strong right now. So even if you're a little resistant to maybe looking for another job because you like your current job, go look around, because you might get an offer right away that you can then use to say, hey, other people want me, so can I get more money here? So you have really good energy here. There's just a little bit of a hurdle that you have to get over to get it started. Okay, Pisces, you're doing this new moon in your house of travel, education, legal matters, and personal philosophy. And Dr. Ninja is sitting there too, ready to help. And then that ticking time bomb is sitting on the other side in contracts, agreements, paperwork, also siblings, neighbors, and transportation. So I know that's a mouthful, isn't it? So what's going on here is that when it comes to school or travel or legal matters, you've got things pretty much under control. You know, as things come in, you're handling them. And Dr. Ninja is helping you figure out what is important, what has a priority, and what doesn't. So that's really good. In fact, being in your house of philosophy, Dr. Ninja may be reordering your priorities. Forgot the word, priorities right as we speak, so that you are then saying, you know, well, this is what I want to accomplish. I want to travel more in my life, so I'm going to make that a priority and let other things support that. But here, the ticking time bomb is like one piece of paper, one message, one thing that says, oh, we're going to throw you off, you know, we're not going to meet on this day, you know, the deadline's moved up, or you can't go to this particular country at this time. And then Dr. Ninja can jump in and say whether this is true, whether this is helpful, whether this is going to really affect you. And so use Dr. Ninja now to say, is this important information? Do I really need this? And this information could come from a trusted source, but it still needs to be challenged. It could come from a sibling or a cousin or a family member. And then you still have to say, I think I want to test this first. Now, the other things that could go wrong is something going wrong in the area of transportation or just getting from one place to another. So that means, you know, if the little light goes on in your car, you know, that says maintenance, you probably want to deal with that. Double check your travel arrangements to make sure those are, you know, correct. There could be some sort of surprise happening in a contract. So make sure that you look through the contract, even if you discussed it before, even if you think that you did read it before, look through it, look for addendums, look for other, you know, things that were added, just as somebody might lob a little bit of a bomb into the mix. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the moon's making a trine to Neptune, and you're very visible right now. You know, the new moon is elevated, but Dr. Ninja is not someone who wants to be seen, who's trying to protect you, and, you know, like saying, there's nothing to see here, as one of my favorite penguins would say. So, and... If you know what I'm talking about, then put a comment in the description. Let me know if you know what "there's nothing to see here" means. So what you need to do is, you know, put Dr. Ninja behind you and say, I am willing to be seen. I am willing to be visible. And then love can find you. So because this is some really good energy, it can make it really easy. But right now, it's like you're willing yourself to not be seen. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, things are going on around the same as usual because Mercury's not making an aspect with Neptune. But I will say Saturn in your own sign of Pisces is now moving forward. And that's really good news because that does mean that you could be inching your way forward towards establishing a stronger connection between the two of you. So if you are living together, maybe you're inching forward towards some sort of formal commitment, or maybe this is about merging finances together so that you be stronger that way. So we're not seeing a lot of visible movement right now, but something could be improving. It's a hard work type of improvement. You know, it's like we don't get to be at the top of the mountain without climbing the mountain. So but maybe you're starting to make a little progress in the climb. Now, when it comes to your money is ruled by Dr. Ninja. So this is about focusing on a very specific goal, chopping away distractions, getting rid of things that are in your way, and, you know, not necessarily taking the obvious route. I mean, this is ninja, right? This is through a window or coming through the roof or something like that. This is looking at all of the different ways that you can get what you want. This is in your house of education. So, you know, it is that, yeah, there's Harvard Business School, but there's so many other ways to learn about business. So and that would save you a ton of money. You know, like you might take the amount of money you would spend even for one semester of school and then invest that in starting a business. And even if that business doesn't succeed, you would learn more in that 6-month period than you would learn in the 4 years of school and save yourself, you know, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that's the kind of thing you can use Dr. Ninja for in making money is to look for another way in to what it is that you want to achieve. Now, when it comes to money from business or money from your investments, Venus is making a semi-square to Mars. So you can make more money over this 2 weeks, but there's a little bit of friction. There's a little bit of hesitation. There's some hurdle to do that you don't really want to do, whether that's reading the prospectus or just finding the password to your brokerage account or tweaking your website and remembering how to tweak your website, stuff like that. It's just a little bit of an irritating friction or hurdle to get over, and once you do, you can make more money. Now, when it comes to money derived from careers, that would be like a paycheck. Mars is not making an aspect with Saturn. And so the energy here says it probably would be difficult to get a raise right now. I think that they would come back to you and say, oh, you need to do this or that. And those things are not really even necessarily true. It is more that they're stalling because they don't want to tell you no and they don't want to lose you. But I do want to tell you that you have not just now, but coming up, really good energy for finding a new position. And that could be within your company or outside of the company. So that's a thing to consider, is to maybe start working on your resume, start visualizing and doing affirmations for what it is that you want, because you could open up another door. And then if you still want to stay, you could bring that to the table and say, hey, I could go somewhere else. And then you could get better energy out of getting a raise, especially as this will line up, this aspect will line up better in the future. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hey, do check out my video courses if you have a moment. I have one on reading the tarot, and it's quite possible that my Finding the Hidden Money course is out by the time this video drops. I don't know. I'm going to try. And there will be more courses in the future. Also, consider signing up for my newsletter. I'm going to be doing several Zoom lectures about 2024, especially Chinese astrology 2024, coming this January and February. And so if you want to jump onto one of those lectures, that is possible. So sign up for my newsletter, though there's going to be announcements there. And if you have any questions about astrology, please let me know. Either put it in the comments or send me an email. I'm looking forward to speaking with you.